what inspired the move for you to come to Dubai?
I wasn't happy in my marriage, and it was affecting my mental health as well. It was my son's second birthday. My sister called me from Germany. She lives in Germany. She used to live in Germany back then. She called me and said, "Happy birthday to your son." And I just burst into tears, and I said, "You're the only one I can talk to. I don't know what's going on with me. I just have these dark thoughts that even if I vanish, nobody would miss me, and even my kids. I felt like I'm just losing myself." And she said, "Well, you can get divorced."
Hi Camilla, thank you for joining us on Parenting Without the Manual.
Thank you for having me.
So you have a very interesting story. We started to get into it off camera.
Everyone does.
Yeah.
Everyone's interesting story. Mine began when I was a little bit of background. I'm from Uzbekistan. I've been living in Dubai for the 12 years now. Almost 1/3 of my life has been in this country. But my parenting journey began when I was 21. I married at 19. It was arranged marriage, which is common back in Uzbekistan, even now. Even now. I became mom when I was 21, and I didn't know how to be a mom because I didn't have one. Growing up, I was raised by my grandmother.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and by that time, my grandma just guilt shamed me or emotionally blackmailed me to getting married because she said, "I'm so old, I want to see your kids." And we all buy into it because we want to pay back because they expect us to do that. And I got married, and straight away we had kids. When my daughter came out, for the first 3 months, I would look at her, just stare at her and think, what a magic. What a magic. You were not even there 9 months ago, and I made you. That gave me sense of power. My first sense of power, ever since I was born, going through my parents' divorce, and she gave me that sense of power. That just the fact that I made her just gave me so much joy. And the first years of my marriage, I was just solely focused on my daughter, and I think that just gave me a time to become a woman rather than young adult, just to become a woman, a mom. And when my son was born, my daughter was 4. And I was hit by postpartum depression. I didn't know back then what it was. We didn't read any books, and I lived in a compound where all the other military wives live. My ex-husband is military, is military. And then I remember I had this older neighbor. She was like a mentor for me. And she was also a teacher at the university I was studying. But stepping a little bit back, my only condition in getting married to a guy 16 years older than me who's been married before was only that he would allow me to get a higher education and he would pay for it.
Okay.
And he was good for it, of course, but I got grant from the government. I got the highest score, and they paid full scholarship for my education. Yeah. And then I thought, damn, I should have.
No, go married.
Yeah.
Or ask
If
for
I
more.
knew.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it is what it is. I never regretted it because my ex-husband is a wonderful, wonderful person. Why, I'm going to tell you later. When my son was born, I was very depressed, and I didn't know what it is back then. It was very hard for me. And the neighbor that I had, she said, "Camila, all you can do is just do your best. And if you screw it up, it's okay too. We all do." And she had
That's
4
great
kids.
advice.
And she
That's
had
great advice, by the
4
way.
kids, yeah.
I wish more people believed that
I
because
would
it's
see
true.
her house a mess. She didn't even care about it. She was so chilled, and she was so much love to give and so much patience. And she said, my patience came out of just letting it go. And you should too. But I was an anxious mother. I wanted to do the best. I wanted to give my daughter what I didn't have, which is the first, mistake that we do as parents. Trying to give them what we didn't have, trying to make them what we couldn't become.
So when you say it's a mistake, what do you think we should do instead?
What we should do instead is just let them be. unconditionally. What we do is just put conditions on them. If you be a good girl, if you eat this, I'll give you dessert. If you put this on, you'll make mommy happy. I'm reading this book right now. Last night I was reading on page 200, and this guy who's already not in love with his wife, but doesn't know how to leave his wife because they have 5-year-old daughter. And then he walks in while his daughter playing Barbies, and then the play goes on. A Barbie and a Ken having the same argument that daddy and mommy has, right? And then he says, it just stung, but it was also so enlightening. Uh, we do mistakes unknowingly, of course. Nobody wants to screw up the kids, and we want the best for them. And in the name of that, we try to do what the book says. I read all the books on how being a good mom, on how feeding, on the intervals, on how putting them to sleep, how to get them birth. But nobody told me that being a parent is just also being your own person and being getting yourself out of lack just to be in a plus in order to give your child what you think it deserves, right?
I think that we do try and give our kids what we didn't have, and I do think it's a mistake. We're trying to also make them be maybe who we failed to be sometimes as well.
Oh yeah,
right?
better version of ourselves.
But
yeah.
I have a couple of philosophies. Number one, I think that instead of giving them what we didn't have, we need to teach them what we weren't taught, which is something completely different, And
Yes.
I think and empower them to be able to make their own decisions. The second thing I think, which is one of my fundamental beliefs, is we are spirits having a human experience, and actually through life we get shaped from a lot of experiences that move us away from spirituality. We become more damaged in a way, trauma, this, that, and we stop. The natural energy of a spirit is to be happy and loving, like unconditional happiness, unconditional love. If you think about the spirit, and so when you see a baby come in, this is like the peak of spirituality. They just have unconditional love and happiness.
Yes.
And then eventually, and it's going to happen because they're in this human shell, they're going to fall over and hurt themselves. There's fear. They're going to feel abandonment, and these things start to shape them. But I think that we have a lot to learn from our kids, and like you said, they come with I think the fulfillment of being a parent is something that you can never explain, and some people don't have it. By the way, like I would say most do. Most people being a parent is one of the proudest moments of their life and the most fulfilling moments, right?
Yes.
But some people, it's not right for them. But I think that when it is right for you and you feel that, I think you can't put it into words, and it raises your whole energy. And if you can see it as that child as a blessing and not as from an element of control,
Yeah.
but from a thing of empowerment, we've got a lot to learn from our kids as well.
Well, I wish I knew what you're talking about back then, because back then I followed my parents' lead. I followed my ancestors' lead. You get married, even if you don't love the person, you just go along.
And culture as well. I suppose it's the culture of
The culture, the traditions, the culture. That's the big deep hole that you. Sometimes it shapes you so much that you don't know what you are outside of that culture. And it took me to come to Dubai.
Yeah.
To look at it from afar to understand what was going on with me back then.
And what inspired the move for you to come to Dubai?
Well, I wasn't happy in my marriage, and it was affecting my mental health as well. As I said, I was in deep depression, and I had almost no support from my ex-husband. And I don't blame him, because it's not in our culture to talk about feelings, to go to the therapy, or to talk about this to anyone other than your friends. And your friends say, "I have the same with my husband," and that's it. You just go along. Let's go get some wine, and then just wine and cry, and then go back to it. And for me, it was much deeper because I just couldn't almost function. And then it was my son's second birthday. My sister called me from Germany. She lives in Germany. She used to live in Germany back then. She called me and said, "Happy birthday to your son." And I just burst into tears and I said, "You're the only one I can talk to. I don't know what's going on with me. I just have these dark thoughts that even if I vanish, nobody would miss me, and even my kids, because my ex-husband is such a good father. He would all the kids' attention and love would go to him, and I was just there as a mom who washes and cleans and cooks. I felt like I'm just losing myself, and she said, "Well, you can get divorced." Back then, divorced in a small town with 16,000 people, and he's a big deal in that small town. He's a military guy. He had like 300 people working under him, and it would have been big shame for him, as if he failed in his marriage, and everybody would point fingers at me and him especially. I couldn't even fathom getting divorced. But then she flew in from Germany. She stood by me. She supported me, and I would forever be grateful for that. And I hope I will never have to, but if I have to stand by someone who is in that position, I will not hesitate 1 second, because I went through it myself, and I know how much it means to have someone by your side when everybody is against it. My mom, my grandmother, God her bless, God bless her soul. She lived to be 93. She saw my both kids. She danced on their birthdays. But she, as a previous generation, she would never understand that, and she would say, "You would die before you get divorced." Yeah, even my brother and everybody was against it, but I went against everyone, and I did it. After the divorce, during the procedure, I knew that I would never win the custody, so I had to leave the kids. And because it was a small town, and I knew that I cannot stay there, I just went. I started teaching myself English from scratch, from zero, and then I went to the to IELTS course. It took me 6 months to start speaking a bit of English, and just because my ex-husband gave me a great tool. He gave me my diploma. I graduated university with the bachelor's diploma, and I applied to lots of work around the world, and Dubai was the first to respond. They invited me for the interview. I lended some money from a friend. I came to Dubai with $200 in my pocket, went to the interview. I was the only one who they hired amongst 15
Amazing.
girl, yeah, 15 candidates. I got the job. I was so happy. My first salary was little more than 5,000 dirhams, but even then, that was my first ever money that I earned. Yeah. But first few years working in Dubai was very hard because I used to work with kids at the nursery as a nursery supervisor, because my major is child psychology. So that was the only job I can get. And working with toddlers just breaks my heart that my kids are back home and I'm here working with kids. I just couldn't handle it. Well, so I changed the course of my job. But I just want to say that leaving the kids with the father, choosing myself, was such a selfish thing for me to do back then. And just psychologically, it was very hard on me. I would cry every night. I would call them on Skype. And my ex and I had this understanding, even if I leave, I can always call them and be in touch and do homework with them, because my daughter was on grade 2, and my son was very small. He was tiny. He was four when I came to Dubai. But he's a great man. He allowed me to be in touch with them as much as I can after work, before they go to sleep. I would read them stories. I would talk to them all the time, and somehow felt that we're still in connection. Yeah. But I had to go to therapy because that wasn't enough. because I felt like I failed, because I felt like I'm not doing a great things, and I chose myself so selfishly. I should have stayed. Maybe I should have just pulled it off, because so many people do in Uzbekistan. Millions of women live, and it's okay. Why did you have to be born that way, that you have to be rebellious, that you have to choose yourself and then grow? And what is growth? That you're still working with someone else's kids? Why can't you just go? That the voices
Internal
in my
voice, yeah,
head.
yeah.
So I went to the therapy, and that was my first step to freedom from my own destructive thoughts. The best thing you can do for your child is just get your head, um, get your head into therapy if you have to. Just gain the tools, work on it, see the situation as it is, without blaming, without being a victim in that situation. Well, that took me almost many years, and to bring that connection back between me and my kids. And there was this fear in my head that no matter what I do, when they grow up, they will go to the therapy and they will complain, and I'll have to pay for it. And I was fine. And I said, if
So
they
you think
have to.
therapy is a very important thing for
It
people?
is.
Yeah.
It is. If you feel like you need help, if you feel like you're not coping, if you feel like your thoughts are destructive to your own self, you have to go to therapy. That would be the first step. But for me, what I realized throughout the years, therapy was a bit limiting within itself for me. It gave me tools, but it didn't explain where I could cope with the thoughts, but it didn't explain why am I feeling that way and where did it come from. So I learned that here came the spirituality for me as well. Spirituality, first it came in a form of just listening to the podcasts, and then I went from before I reached the Tony Robbins level, that chill and cool, in 2 minutes, just chopping everything up and just serving it to you.
Yeah, Joe
And
Dispenza or not?
yeah,
Joe Dispenza you listen to?
of course I do.
Yeah.
I used to, yeah. But now I'll get to that. Back then I used to listen to a little bit of Osho, Deepak Chopra, and then I went to the Muji, and then I was thinking maybe I should go to ashram and live there, just to find my inner peace and inner self. And that led me to lots of practices that I did from the, I don't know how to say it in English, but in Russian we say холотропное дыхание, when you breathe in a certain way, and then yeah.
Breathwork is called. Yeah.
So that, and then and all that time I was trying to implement it to my relationship with my kids. So my entry point was, because they are so important to me, because I love them, of course we all do. And my entry point was, how can I cope with the pain that is causing me being away from my kids, to actually focus brought back to me. I understood. I just realized that it all starts with me here.
I love that.
Only here. And it took me many years to understand that, because I was trying to find the answers elsewhere. In ashram, in India. I went to India, by the way. I went to India. I lived there for a while. But it didn't do anything, because I came back to the society, and it was different. Back there, you breathe. It's very isolated, very curated, beautiful, very mindful, demure environment, and then you come back to the civilization, and you have to earn your living, and you have to take your place in the society, and you have to show who you are, and you have to be brave to accept the feedback. So throughout the years, relationship between me and my ex actually became more friendship, in a sense that he saw that I'm not drinking, or I'm not smoking, I'm not destroying myself as he predicted,
Yeah.
that I'm always in touch with my kids. I always I funded their education back home as well. I brought them on vacations with me. We traveled to many great places, me and my kids. He would allow that, but not to live with me in Dubai, because Dubai had a little bit of bad reputation in Central Asia.
Yeah, yeah.
Thanks God, now every second person has been to Dubai, and there are so many
Yeah.
cheap flights. And
Yeah, yeah.
nowadays, the Dubai's reputation has changed. So finally, 3 years ago, he agreed to let them move to Dubai, because I pleaded, I cried, I said, I'm ready. They're ready too. And they need a better education, and they need a mother as well. Why I was able to travel the world and try to find myself, because my ex-husband is a great guy, as I said, and I'm going to tell why. Because he's an ex-military guy. He's very disciplined. He's very dedicated to his kids. He wakes up at 5 a.m. in the morning. Even now, ever since I know him, that should be since 2006. 20 years. 20 years since I know him. He wakes up at 5 a.m. in the morning. He goes for a jog. And then he comes back and then makes breakfast for the kids. And if they want a burger, he never buys it. He makes it. If they want a pizza, he never buys it. He makes it. He bakes his own bread ever since he's retired from the military. Yeah, so maybe he wasn't a great husband to me, but he is a great father. So I knew that I'm leaving them with a good guy. That I was in no point, in no shape, and I wasn't ready to take care of them back then.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing really prepares you. You know, you spoke about at the very beginning postpartum depression. My ex-wife went through the same thing, and you know, it's difficult sometimes for a man to understand, but it's a real thing, because you have so much hormones and stuff happening in your body as the baby's growing. It's very, you know, and again, there's, from a psychological point of view, you have, of course, the weight gain, the lack of mobility, the normal stuff, but then also from a mental point of view, your so much is shifting as well, right? From the hormone and everything.
Yeah, woman feels like she doesn't belong to herself.
Yeah.
Those first 2 years, I felt like I didn't belong to myself. I felt like the child and me, we are one, which is true, of course, but that is also the downside. There's a downside when you are one, and you are not yourself, and you are constantly and when the hormones and plus you're living with a person you don't love, and then you have a second child with him, and you know there's no way now you can leave. That also was very psychologically big burden on me.
Got you.
Yeah. But we talk about it now with him, and he says, I wish I knew I wasn't supportive enough. See, as I changed and developed, he did too.
Yeah.
Without reading those books, without going to India, without living in ashram.
You know, I'll tell you something. You know, like, listen, there's men and women are built differently. We come from different places, and we perceive things differently. You know, you spoke about your culture and the arranged marriage and this and the responsibility of the woman and the responsibility of the man. I grew up in the West. I grew up in the UK. I grew up in London. It's very different. We don't have arranged marriages unless you're in a certain religion. You know, but I think at the same time, many people's values are under where they should be because of this type of lifestyle as well. And I think there's something to be said. But here's what I've learned from my studies in life: inherently, the man or the woman wants to be protected and provided for. And so, if you look in the West, in London, some people would call that gold digger, because they're looking for money. But the reality is, many women as a feminine want to be safe, and in their head, if I have money, I can be safe, because if I've grown up without money or whatever, right? And it can be many different ways. But the man also, he wants to be the provider and the protector, and so he hasn't read the books, but inherent for a man is, it's like a failure. It's like, I want to be able to provide and protect. If I only knew that's what you needed. But the thing is, we don't know what you need, you know?
That's what I tell him. I said, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what's going on. I blamed you, and you blamed me, and we played the blame game, and one of us had to leave, and that was me, because probably, first he said, maybe you were not strong enough. I said, Well,
Yeah,
I was strong enough to leave you, go against everybody in my family, and leave you.
yeah.
Well, like, I'm the strongest woman I know.
So from a personal perspective though, life has changed massively, right? Because you have your own salon now. So you talk about the when you came here with not much and you travelled around and you found yourself.
Yes.
So where's this shift that turned you into your own businesswoman, and got you to where you are today? Tell me.
Since I realized the world is my oyster and I am flexible and beautiful and smart enough to make it in this world, I turned it into my tool, into
And
my
how did you
biggest
discover that? How did you
by feedback
okay.
again, by feedback.
From
From the environment, from everybody I would see. And
just how you
for some
interpret it.
reason, people like me, then I gained 30,000, 13,000
Yeah.
followers almost in less than a year,
Yeah.
only just by being myself. And
Yes.
that took me 40 years just to be myself,
Yeah.
just to show myself as I am without no hesitance and without just, I stopped being perfecting
Trying to be perfect.
yeah, trying to be perfect. Because I thought maybe if I lose some weight and then I just got some surgery, do some lips, and then get fake lashes, and then I'll start my own
Do you think a lot of
YouTube.
women go through this as
Of
well?
course we,
Yeah.
of course we
Yeah.
do. Of course they do. Listen, every stage of the feminine catastrophe I went through, everybody goes through,
Yes.
if they're lucky, and that's a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
And so when I came to Dubai, I thought I'll live just a couple of years, gain some, save some money, buy maybe a studio, a small apartment back home, so I'll be able to fight for custody once more. And once you have your own apartment, you can actually nobody will stop me from getting my kids back. That was the goal. But when I came to Dubai and I saw that there's much more bigger opportunity, first of all, financially and in the job wise, as a personal growth and dating, relationships, beauty, government safety. Also, it just allowed me to grow. I constantly translate it
Translating.
from
It's okay.
Russian to English.
It's okay.
It's a
Yeah.
bit hard, sorry.
I wish I could speak Russian, so it's okay. Yeah.
That would be an interesting conversation. It allowed me to find myself, to work on my mental health. First of all, being away from the kids, and I say it with utmost. I love them to pieces, but I needed that time away,
Yeah.
just to
By the
find
way, I
myself
think
to.
it's very mature of you to be able to reflect back and understand that even the negative time that you went through still played a good part in developing who you are and now the relationship you have, and even their own growth as well.
That was inevitable. That imagine me with my background coming here with lots of baggage from my cultural baggage, my ancestry baggage, my failed marriage, my pain leaving the kids there, and I brought it all here. I wouldn't be where I am right now without working on it, just letting it go, feeling the pain, putting in compartments, and then look at it as it is, and learn. Without that, that wouldn't be possible, and that's the beautiful journey we go through. I would
Totally.
never
Yeah.
do that in any different way. I'm so happy that I found some strength in myself to get divorced, to leave them when I had to, come here to to awaken.
Yeah.
After all, to awaken, to enlighten myself in spirituality through the psychology, first from the therapy, and then the spirituality. But now even spirituality is too tight for me. I know that when you spirituality taught me to talk to God, find your soul, be mindful. But now I think everything is one, and God is within me, and I am the God.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and my kids are too, and you too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And when the two gods consciously sitting and talking, there is nothing we cannot tear apart and build back.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing. Especially the identities and all the things that are taught and forced on us, like how you have to raise your
So
kids.
yeah, I need to ask you something because, by the way, you don't know how much aligned of how we think, right? But what I'm curious now. So in the last few years, you had your kids over here,
Yes.
yes, and you have, which is not everybody, because meet and speak to a lot of people, have had. Not everyone has had this level of development, awakening, transformation you've had, even like to go to the ashrams and to do all this stuff. So you've done a lot of work. Even the reality is the development is a reflection of sometimes the pain you've had to go through. So going away from your kids and doing all of this. So how did you then integrate your learnings? Because you've actually gone through like down and up to discover yourself and to create yourself and recreate yourself. How do you then, then you meet your children properly, like not meet them, but like you reconnect with them in a good way.
Oh,
What do you focus on for them to learn of how you can give this information to them?
the spirituality got me even more confused. To be honest, it actually it didn't it made a bit of it divided it created space between me and my kids for a little while until I understood that I will not find anything that I'm looking for in ashram in India. I'll find it just within
Within,
me,
yeah,
only within me.
yeah.
And when I was ready,
Yeah, so as you were talking, you were saying, searching. I forget exactly the words you used, but when you said you find yourself. So my belief, and I can connect a lot to what you're saying. Life changes when you love yourself. For me, and many of us have this internal dialogue, the internal critic, that is telling us what we're doing wrong, what we failed at, what we're not good enough to do, the fear, what could go wrong, and when you completely love and appreciate yourself, nothing matters. Like you can just, like everything is just as it should be. Yeah.
yes,
And you just do something from a place of alignment. And it's easy to talk about. And I went down the route as well of doing many spiritual things and trying to find how do I fix myself. And when I realized I don't need to be fixed, and it's the most obvious thing when you get there. But the reality is most people are going in this confusion of or brainwash of that negative voice is just constantly attacking them.
yeah, and then spirituality teaches you just love that too,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
they teach you how to
Well,
how to shut it up by meditating, and but they don't give you the tools to look at, to accept the pain.
well, I
They
think,
want to
yeah.
suppress it and say
See, I think there's an education. We're in a world today where you can learn some of this stuff, but how do we integrate it? And it's like anything. Like we can sit here and teach somebody. Even you and I, two people on this journey, we could talk about
yeah,
this.
I get the
But just
question
because
now. Yeah,
somebody hears it doesn't mean they're going to be able to
yeah,
implement
yeah,
it.
I get
And
it now.
and
Yeah.
we only really it only comes together once you're able to integrate it. And I don't know, that's for that person to be able to do in their own time, because you could read all the books, learn all the stuff,
Yeah.
and it logically it makes sense, and you hope it's going to work, and it doesn't work for you,
Yeah.
and you think, well, they don't teach it to me properly. But it's only when you can just fully integrate it.
Yeah.
Because for me today, all the things that I've learned hold true now, but now they're integrated. But by the way, a few years ago I was reading the same books and I wasn't feeling the same way.
Yeah.
But this is good. So tell me, because I want to get onto. I think your story is beautiful, by the way. So you're now running a successful salon, yeah? Don't tell me.
Before I
Okay, tell me,
before you give me the next question, can I answer the previous
please.
one? How did it go? Did it go when the kids moved
Yeah,
here?
yeah.
That, I expected it would go dandy. We reunite.
Yeah.
My kids are next to me, and I'm so ready to be a mom. I am so enlightened, and that was the biggest challenge when they moved here. That was the biggest challenge. I pulled them off from the very familiar environment, from their schools, the friends, a father that loved them to bits and protected them. For example, my kids never took one day of bus. He would drive them to school and then stay there until they finished the classes and then take them back home to ready lunch. And I cannot do that. I'm always busy. That was a huge shift for them. But But I knew that it was going to be a bit of turbulence, but I was ready for that. I was not ready for what came when they moved. My daughter is a teenager. When she moved, she was 16, right? And of course, she felt isolated. She didn't want to stay in Dubai. She was resilient. She would pick fights with me almost every day, and I couldn't understand, what am I doing wrong? Why is this happening? I do it with love, and the Dubai is great place for you. And it took me 6 months to understand that she has to go back. She has to go back. She has to go back to the familiar environment. It's not that I lost it. The time is gone. You should have brought her earlier when she was younger. No, that's her environment. She loves it there. This is how she feels, and I had to honor it as well, and stop being selfish and trying to keep her here. So she lived with me for the first 6 months. At times it was beautiful. At times it wasn't.
Challenging.
But I learned a lot. I even cherished the moments that we would fight, over small things. And I would learn a lot. And the one thing I did, and I do even now, all the time, all day, every day, I just communicate. We communicate. We sit and talk. She hates it. She's like, talking again. Why do we need to talk?
But
We
it's an
do.
age as well.
That's what
It's an age, yeah.
that's what we say. I say we have to sit and talk. We have to talk about that. We have to talk about how you're feeling, and then I'll tell you how I'm feeling, and then we see what the big problem is. Actually, when we start talking about it, turns out it just was a small misunderstanding, or there's just misalignment between two generations, me and her. This is where I learned a very beautiful thing. Perspective over perception, right? My perception of the world, the world is, for me, is what my perception of the world is, right? And of course, the world can be neutral until my perception just gives it a description, the value, and of course that perception comes out from the prism of my culture, my background, my childhood traumas, all the things I learned, all the books I read. That's the prism of the perception. And then I started looking at the perspective, my kids' perspective, and I saw it. I saw myself through their eyes, an absent mother, always trying to win their heart with the gifts, and growing spiritually, and enlightened now, and trying to build new rules again around what they know already, and they were not having it. They were not having it. So they never do what you tell them to do. They only follow you. And my daughter was old enough for us to sit and talk, and I said, Samira, you are a young woman. I was a little bit older than you when I had you. So naturally, I didn't know what's going on. I said, yes, sometimes I fucked up, and I admitted every single thing. And I said, when I had depression and you were only 4, I wouldn't let you scream in the house and play because it would irritate me, and you would just lie down on the floor, and I didn't know what to do with you, and it just broke my heart. And she understood, It was so beautiful. She said, why didn't you tell me that before? She doesn't remember, but it still gave her the perspective of what was going on with me back then. And I said, you're going to be a young woman. You'll go through your own heartbreaks. And I wish you look at the situation as it is, here and now, at the moment. I couldn't because I didn't have the tools. And I said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I left you. I'm sorry that I chose myself, my own sanity. I'm sorry that I couldn't stay with your father. I'm sorry that I had to leave to come back. And she was listening very intently, yeah. And she said, Oh, I get it now. Yeah. So that was the first step. And from that moment on, I always come clean with everything. I talk about my finances. If you cannot buy this, if they ask me what's going on, I don't say, no, everything is fine, and then go and cry in the next room. No. I said, this is what's going on. If somebody is, I don't know, if it's not going well at the salon, I say, yeah, you know, this client wrote a claim, and now I have to, and it just irritates me. Um, I speak how I feel at the moment, and I teach them the same. I say, you have to verbalize what you're feeling. Don't play zero-sum games. It never ends well. And let's just sit and talk. And if I cannot buy something, I cannot provide, or I say, you have to wait, or we're not going to buy it, especially with the finances. Because I believe that it's very important for the kids to know what's going on from the certain age, if their consciousness is allowing. If you think that the consciousness is at the same the level that they can understand, you have to talk to them all the time. You just come clean.
When you talk about perception and perspective,
Yeah.
there's a saying: when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And it's interesting to say that. And I think that the stuff that you're doing now, and this, you've been on your journey, and how you communicate, especially look, if your daughter's now 16, and again, 16 is even older now than when we were 16. Yeah, right, because they're developed so fast and have so many things, right? But you're teaching her already some very important skills of maturity, and even talking adult stuff and adult things.
Yes.
And her being able to compute and understand that matures her. So you've spoken a lot about your relationship with your daughter. We need to come to the end soon, but I'm curious to know, how has it been with your son, and is it different with the boys and the girls?
Yes.
And, yeah.
Yes, it is completely different. Yeah.
So what's been different? Obviously he's 4 years younger, but what is the dynamic of the relationship been? Because I
He
feel
was
very
easier.
much, that like your daughter's like a copy of you, like
Yes.
like a mirror of you.
Yeah, she's very strong-headed. She's very opinionated, and I'm
Yeah.
very interested in her opinions all the time. I ask her, "What do you think about that?" And she gives me great advice. The other day we were talking about ancestry healing, and I said, I just realized we don't have to heal our ancestry. First of all, who said that it was painful and bad? What we can do is just draw power from that, because we're on the edge. We're on the top of the ancestry becomes, we carry it here right now. We don't have to go back or heal it. We can just draw
What we need. Yeah.
most the power of that, especially from the women line. And I said, I wish I knew that before. And she said, maybe you knew, you just forgot. And I'm like, yes, all the knowledge are within you already. And as you know, from the quantum field, everything is already happening here and now. All we have to just reach with your consciousness. The further you can reach, the better you get. So she said, and I said, yes, it's like remembering. It just blew my mind. Well, with my son, it was easier because he's a teenager. He was very excited to come to Dubai, to find new friends. But me being an anxious mother a little bit, I thought maybe I should just keep him homeschooled for a year for him to adapt to the environment, to learn better English. So I kept him homeschooled in Dubai. That was a big mistake. I realized it for the first day that I started. We started doing the online lessons, not because it was hard, no, because I could see that he's lacking that communication, the socializing, the friendships. So I signed him up for kickboxing, UFC, volleyball. He's very tall. Basketball as well, guitar lessons. So try to keep him occupied. But then I listen, of course. He didn't like the kickboxing. He doesn't like violence. He's very gentle inside. Although he tries to be cool. He has these curls. He doesn't look Uzbek. He looks more He's very different. He's a very gorgeous boy, and I'm like, why, Camila? Why are you keeping him at home instead of just sending him off to the big world for him to discover it for himself? So I realized the mistake, but it was too late. It is what it is. I kept him home for a year. It gave us a time to become closer. I gave him as much attention and as much love as he was lacking through all these years. Uh, but I also have the huge family here. We are almost 15 members.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I came here, I was alone, and then I started pulling one cousin and a next cousin, and then my cousin moved his mom, my aunt moved, and my aunt's husband moved, and all found jobs, and one of them works one of them is a shoemaker. He makes shoes from zero, from Italian leather. He he's almost an artist. Yeah, his wife works at the real estate. I have a cousin who got married in Dubai to the local guy, and now I have two nephews with Emirati passports, and all because one day I decided to, get divorced and then start a new life in Dubai.
Amazing. The ripple effect.
Yes. So the family also supported Amir, my son. He has his cousins here as well, same age. That's a big plus. So that kept him entertained for a year. But then he went to the school. By the end of the academic year, I knew that he has to go to school. He has to be socializing. He has to go to physically and blend. And despite my fears was like I didn't want him to get bullied because he just moved, and I just want him to adapt. I should have asked him. Yeah, I should have asked. He was not afraid. I was. You see, he went to school first day. I filmed it, posted it on Instagram. I got 600,000+ views, and his principal called me a week later saying, "Thank you. Most people didn't even know that there's a Russian school in Dubai, and you made us famous." So now he's a star. He has lots of friends. So he's doing well. One thing with him, again, you have to tell him what is going on. He has a little bit of anxious personality. As long as he knows what's going on, it's easier for him to digest and adjust and stop spiraling. During the years he lived with my ex is a man's man. He knows how to drive a car. He knows how to fix his bike. He knows how to cook. He wakes up in the morning. At 5:30, he makes himself breakfast. I don't wake up to see him off to school. No, I haven't done it once. He wakes up. He makes himself a breakfast, and then he dressed up, and then he goes downstairs. Just takes a bus and goes to school. And then comes back, does his homework. I don't get involved. He's very independent, autonomous young man. And that is courtesy of my ex-husband. He taught them a very good discipline. Yes. So I don't have to mom him or nag him to do something. He always makes his bed. That is all good. The only thing is he has a just soft heart, and he wants to, of course, please me. He wants to be as good as he can. Although I'm against the idea of being good to be loved by your parents. And I say, but at the same time, he can express his feelings, and it's okay. He knows that he's free to express his feelings. And if he wants to shout at me if I did something wrong, that's okay too. If he's angry, he's angry. If he's furious, he's furious. If he's disappointed, he's disappointed. He knows that he has a right to own his feelings, and I taught him in emotional intelligence as well. He names his feelings like. Maybe I'm just, the other day he says, maybe I'm just hungry. I'm not angry, I'm just hungry. Yeah. Maybe if I eat, it's going to be better. Yeah. Very because when he was even smaller, maybe 7, 8 years old, I learned this thing. Everything I learn, I try to explain to them, no matter what. So, and I said, listen, when a child is born, it goes through initiations. Initiation, first initiation being born, for coming out of the womb, from the womb, very familiar, stable environment to the outer world. Of course, it's a big stress for the child. And the first 5 years, everything is a stress for the child because everything is happening for the first time. And the second initiation, and when he was 7, he would sometimes be alone at home while his father was working or out doing some stuff. So he would come back from school, entertain himself, put the TV on, do his homework, and then eat something, maybe make his bed or go outside to play, and then come back. Until 9 p.m. he was alone. And that was the second initiation too. So he was old enough to take care of himself for a day. Maybe if we left him for a night, he would be also okay, you know, because we live in a small compound. Everybody knows everybody, and it's very safe. And the third initiation, I said, it's when a girl gets her period and a boy gets his first massage and the hormones. And what is good for my kids living in Uzbekistan until they were late teenagers, that they went through that initiation. In my culture, we say culture, I don't want to speak about my culture as a negative thing because it's so beautiful. It's aligned with the proper development of the body of the person with our traditions. This is what we do. When you're born, we celebrate it big. We celebrate it big as if somebody is getting married. And then a 7-year-old has to take care of themselves, at least for 24 hours. Have to be able, and you have to teach them that.
Well, especially the boys, right?
The boys, yes.
Because this is what I know from Becky. I need to bring you across because we've gone way over, but I need to ask you something now, just to do very quickly. As someone that's been through so much, and you've gone through divorce, you've gone through being away from your kids, you've gone through, you have a boy and a girl. One of the things that I think could be very useful as well is, and I need to keep it give me like a 1 or 2 lines, yeah. What as a boy mum, and as a single boy mum now, obviously your husband helped raise him, is really important for you, because obviously the daughters, it's a lot more connection, you can relate a lot more. But what's one bit of advice that you would give to like a single mum who's raising a boy?
To keep his masculine and feminine in balance. Because sometimes he wants to be boy's boy and he wants to dominate and tell me what to wear and what not to wear. And I have to keep it in check.
Okay.
That's the only thing. And also, I learned that I don't wear revealing clothes in front of him because everything has changed since they moved to Dubai. And what I do find a little bit challenging for me nowadays is to be that authoritative figure for him, because I'm a mom, I'm a softie, and he knows that he can sometimes get what he wants from me. But then I have no idea being a man with balls at home as well. Yes, when I have to, but then I have to come out of my soft mom
and be there.
State, and then take a charge and be a man sometimes as well. Yeah.
Camila, it's been an absolute pleasure. Your story is amazing. I've really enjoyed it today. Thank you so much.
I want to talk so much about all the other things like religion and freedom and about current events. Yeah. I just want to say that what I find important, and I hope whoever is listening to this will take a note, that when everything has started, it was spiraling and it was scary, right? For the last 10 days, we've been living in a very
anxious,
and tense situation. First night when it all started, I'm so grateful that I have this inner peace and an alignment and whatever you want to call it, to sit, binge watch a good movie. We watched the Pluribus. I absolutely love it, and then we would pause and discuss what's going on, and we didn't care absolutely what was going on outside the world. And then when he was yawning and I knew that he's ready for bed, and I went to meditate, and I said, "Do you want to do it with me?" We breathed, we meditated, and then he went to sleep. And ever since, every evening we almost do the same. We have it. I always tell him what was going on outside the world. The objective world does not exist. There's only one subjective, and it's yours and mine and whatever we're creating. And don't be afraid. As long as you're here at home and you're safe and and you have peace here, yeah, nobody's gonna touch you. And the bomb that comes will be
Over
there,
there.
not here. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't want to
There
mention
with
that
him.
word. No, I wasn't.
There's a saying.
That's the only thing that I can teach. The biggest thing I can teach him right now is just keep your cool, inner peace, breathe, and just let it be.
There's an African proverb. It says, when there's no enemy within, the enemy without can do no harm. We have to finish, but thank you so much. It's
Thank
been
you
great. Thank you
for
Camilla.
having me. It was
Thank you.
absolute pleasure. Thank you.